I hope all the moms and wives and daughters had a great Mother's Day. Those mothers out there. I know mine did. Mine is 97 years old, Steve. Had a chance to see her and, of course, take my wife out for a little bit of lunch. How about your wife? Did she have a good one?
She had a good one. I worked, so I was at the Rays on Sunday. So,
Oh, boy.
but she was home with the kids, which makes her happy, and
Yeah, kids take care of
they
them.
were good. Yeah, exactly. So, and in the words of Ralph Kiner on a Mets broadcast many years ago, well, it's Mother's Day, so to all the moms out there, happy birthday.
That was Ralph, man. That's beautiful. That's exactly who he was, too. Oh, my goodness. Well, we had no shortage of things to talk about. Of course, over the weekend, the Rays took a big series against Milwaukee, had a chance to sweep, didn't quite get it done. First rain delay in Rays baseball history occurred on Saturday.
Both games, Saturday and Sunday, were delayed at the start, and then Saturday's game actually had a rain delay in the middle of it. So,
Yeah. I was thinking maybe they were going to play on Sunday, but they handed out the ponchos, the free ponchos, which was fun to see. And most people stuck around on Saturday, which was also interesting. But yeah, ground crew did good, got the tarp on in like 2.5 minutes or something. It was fun. But yeah, the Rays played a little bit better. We'll get into them in just a minute. I wanted to start a little bit about the Bucs rookie minicamp and sort of the things we saw out there. I'll say this, and he was supposed to speak Saturday, wound up speaking, or Fridays, wound up speaking on Saturday. We had a chance to meet Shiloh Sanders, of course, Deion Sanders, one of his older sons, older than Shador, who is now, with the Cleveland Browns. And Shador, rightfully so, was sort of like the story of the draft and his precipitous fall to the fifth round and all that went on there. And, Shiloh live streamed the whole thing, the whole draft all the way to the end. And Shiloh was not drafted. His wait was even longer because he was taken as an undrafted free agent by the Bucs, who, from my understanding, were the first and then became the only team that needed to talk to him and or his agent at the time, Drew Rosenhaus. I think what Rosenhaus did was send out sort of a group message, if you will, to the teams. No one in particular announcing that he was representing Shiloh, because I'm not sure Shiloh actually had an agent to that point. He may have, but in any case, Jason Light and Todd Bowles looked at each other and said, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's make this happen." And so they got on the phone and wound up working out. It's basically a 3-year minimum deal. This is what most of the undrafted free agents will get, with few exceptions, but that's what he was looking at. And they were in Colorado at the time. Shiloh made it a point to get to Tampa earlier than when the rookies needed to be here on Thursday. Wanted to get around and maybe talk to some of the veterans like Antoine Winfield Jr. and others. And I'll say this, Steve, and it's just like, first impressions just mean a lot to me and to most people, really. And it just may be that he's very polished, and, Deion is certainly charismatic. His sons are too. But when he walked in the media room, he was, I think, the last undrafted rookie we talked to. There was about, I don't know, 6 or 8 over the weekend, and he was the last one. And he walked in, very charismatic, big smile on his face. And then this is not about what I'm going to say next is not about me or my expectations or anything like that. But he did something unexpected. He walked, before going to the podium, he walked up to each member of the media, TV cameraman, talent, news anchor, sports anchor, reporter, whatever. And I would say there's anywhere between, I don't know, 12 and 14, 12 and 16 people in the room. And he shook our hands and said who he announced who he was and listened to who we were and went right down the road before he got in front of the bank of microphones and started talking, which, again, small thing, but very intentional and disarming. You know what I mean? It's like, I've never met you. I don't know anything about you. I know your name is Sanders. Let's see what this is all about. Now, having said all that, he's extremely image conscious. He has 1.5 million followers on Instagram, and I'm told that he, requested to meet with the entire Bucs social media team to see how he could help them. But he's also been that way with every single person in the building. Like, no matter how small or big your job may be, this guy's been very personal and professional and engaged. And on the practice field, he got singled out by Todd Bowles after the first day for being one of the most, if not the most vocal player on the field, and in a good way, communicating, understanding what the install was, then taking that onto the practice field and making sure guys were lined up right. So, look, I don't know until they start playing something besides underwear football. None of this really matters. It's whether or not you can make plays when it's time for you to do so. But this is a guy that's, a little more mature. He played 6 years of college football, started at South Carolina, then Jackson State, and ended at Colorado. He's older than his brother, but he definitely made a nice first impression both on and off the field. So I thought it was kind of cool because I don't know the guy from Adam.
No, and you could tell. Look, your last name is Sanders. Your dad's Dion. You've been around the media your whole life. You've seen him interact with the media your whole life, and particularly the last few years as a coach, became even more in the media.
Yeah.
At Jackson State, and then getting guys like Travis Hunter to go there, and then obviously taking Colorado, who had won one game the season before he got there and was kind of a dormant program. And within 2 years, they were on the door of the college football playoff. Didn't quite make it, but got pretty close. All that attention, comfortable with the media, comfortable in front of a camera.
Oh, yeah.
And has, obviously has paid attention and learned a lot. And from the, look at the social media stuff, meeting with the social media team. I can tell you that every social media team on every team meets with the players.
Yes.
But it's even better when the players want to come to them first.
Absolutely. And even better when one of the players has almost more followers than your entire team does.
Well, I wouldn't go that far with Shiloh, but yes. I mean, the Buccaneers have a huge social media following.
They do, but at least as far as like Instagram goes, I think he's only 300,000 behind.
Okay, I haven't seen their numbers.
It's like 1.2 versus 1.5 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean that's very impressive, and
yeah,
teams like that, and look, you're an undrafted guy. It doesn't hurt to ingratiate yourself to everybody.
No,
it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean he's going to make the team. At the end of the day, Jason Light, Todd Bowles, the whole front office team, coaching staff are going to pick the best players that are going to give them a chance to win. I mean, much like last year, I'm sure Todd Bowles' message at the beginning of the season is going to be, "We're going for the Super Bowl."
Yeah,
this isn't about a popularity contest or that. It's going to be who can perform on the field and who can help this team win games. That's going to be who makes the team. But those first impressions, those little things can't hurt you. And sometimes they may, start comparing apples to apples, or they're pretty neck and neck, but this guy's just a better guy, or, we like this better. It can go, it can help you.
Well, he's one of those players that, kind of through the pandemic in 2000, like he played a lot of college football. He was at least, with 3 different programs during his career over 6 years. And so he's not a 22-year-old kid, right? He's, 25, I think 24, 25. And, you can see the polish. And like you said, his dad's been in the public eye since the beginning. He was funny. He was talking about Shedeur, and he said that I know he misses me because he calls him all the time. He goes, we have the same schedule. He goes, in fact, I think he's meeting with the media right now too. And he goes, we're up at 6 a.m. and he's calling me. I'm like, hey man, shouldn't you be going to meetings and things? And so that part was kind of endearing. And look, I don't, his chances, like the safety position in and of itself is an intriguing one because they're going to move Tyke Smith, to safety. He played mostly nickel corner last year. And I think they're going to try to, keep him on the field more with Antoine Winfield Jr., which means they're going to need another player at nickel. And you have Christian Izien, who did a good job there when he was healthy. He also cross trains at safety. But now you have this Jacob Parrish guy. And I'll tell you, the guy that stood out, maybe the star of the camp, was another corner, not named Benjamin Morrison, who was taken in the second round, although we got more on him in a minute too. But like Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State, not the prototypical Todd Bowles corner, if you will, or outside corner. He was 5'9", 191, and for that reason, I think we all sort of wrongfully assume that, this he's coming in here to play inside, play nickel, right? Not so fast, my friend. as Lee Corso would say. Um, Todd Bowles just announced that no, he's an outside corner. He may play inside, but he's he could start in the NFL right now outside, even at 5'9". The dude is really fast and really skilled, and showed up right away with a pick six in practice. Now you don't have Baker Mayfield out there throwing. You don't have you know other NFL guys that played in the league playing quarterback right now, but um, he was he splashed right away. And when you talk to him, you feel his confidence. If not for his size, I don't think he lasts around 3 because he was highly productive. Sort of in at Kansas State anyway, and he worked his way up from a special teams player. He was honorable mention All Big 12. He started 12 games. He had um, 50 tackles and an interception and some tackles for losses, and did a nice job. He's pretty consistent, but he could become maybe even a better pro. And then if you take him, Jamel Dean's going to be fighting for a starting job. You're pretty good with Zion McCallum. Then you had Benjamin Morrison, who I thought this was a pleasant surprise if you've kind of been following this kid's story. He had hip surgery and missed almost his entire season last year. Of course, Notre Dame went all the way, to the national championship game, I believe, or in the college football playoffs. And Morrison would have been a first round pick because he burst onto the scene at Notre Dame, and his father, Daryl Morrison, played years and years ago for Washington and was a teammate of Todd Bowles for a couple of years. Now they have not had any contact until they drafted Ben, but Ben's an absolute ball hawk. I mean, he had 1 year he had 6 interceptions and returned one for a touchdown. He had a couple against Clemson, I think. And so, but with this injury, which was tore the rotator in his hip, I believe, and it's the second time the second hip that he actually injured. He had a similar surgery in high school 5 years ago, and it was sort of related to. And they knew it would probably happen with the other one because it was his growth plate and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, the guy was out there running and doing drills and able to practice, which he's limited in some of the team stuff. I don't know how much team stuff he did, but he did everything else and looked pretty smooth doing it. Now they're going to take it easy and not. Their goal is to have him back on the field. He's got to get in shape. The way I was told was like, look, he hasn't done a lot because he's been rehabbing. And now if he's going to start playing football again, he needs to get his legs under him and get back in shape. So I think that's kind of what they're going to be careful and not put too much stress on him all around. But if this guy gets healthy and can stay that way, which is ironic, you're trying to replace the Jamel Dean who's always hurt with a guy that comes to you hurt. But he's a first round talent, like legit first round stud. And between him, you think about the defense and the lack of interceptions, and him and Parrish to add to what they already have. You got to imagine Winfield's going to bounce back. You got to imagine that Tyke will do a nice job if he moves to safety. So all of a sudden you suddenly help that pass rush because you got some guys in the back end that are going to lock things down. And Bowles has made mention now he's not going to do one thing and one thing only, but he does want to play a little more press man than we saw last year because I think he feels like he has the personnel he can do it with.
Well, and I look, they didn't address edge rushing as much as you maybe had hoped.
Right.
They signed Hassan Reddick, but they didn't take a draft pick till the 4th round.
David Walker. Mm-hmm.
If your sack total and your pressure package isn't going to be better up front,
then
you're going to have to continue to blitz, which
Absolutely.
means you've got to play better man-to-man coverage in the back. You've got to have better press cover guys, period.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have to take more guys, send more guys than 4 to go get the quarterback, which has been a problem that's really been the biggest problem on the defense the last few years. Not enough pressure up front, especially with 4 guys. If you haven't really fixed that, and maybe Hassan Reddick will inject a lot in there, we'll see. But if not, you're expecting big leaps from guys like Yaya Diaby and Kalijah Cansey and that. And if that doesn't happen, then you're going to have to blitz, or you're going to have to blitz more, which means the press corners are going to be extremely vital. And It's been a problem the last few years, and so if you can't fix your edge rushing, you better fix the back end.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's what Bowles has always wanted to do. Like I said, he always says, hey, and one of the reasons why they didn't hesitate taking a Mecca Ibuka as their first round pick is because he says, look, I can do stuff, right? I can do stuff on defense. You got to score points, and I'm not going to turn down a good player if he plays offense, and that's what they did with Ibuka. But if you give him those chess pieces, and I'm telling you, I've seen plenty of draft classes. I can remember raving about Noah Spence and writing a feature about him, and Vernon Hargraves was going to be this lockdown corner from Florida, and so on and so forth. It doesn't always work the way you plan it, right? There is a bust rate in the draft that is almost universal in some ways. You're not going to hit on all of them, but by God, if you go back and look at the last 3 to 4 drafts that the Bucs have had with Jason Light and his staff, Rob McCartney and Mike Greenberg. And now, John Spytek is with the Raiders now, but it's essentially the same group of scouts and such. They've done really, really well, really, really well. And you can't tell a lot in a rookie mini camp. You can probably tell it a little bit more in training camp, and then certainly more in preseason. But until these guys play regular season games, you're not exactly sure what you have. But I will say this, the guys that needed to show up and sort of flash in this mini camp, they did. And that starts with your first pick in Emeka Ibuka. Now, he's got quarterbacks that are not going to play on Sunday throwing at him in this camp. But you talk about a smooth route runner. You talk about a guy that's easy to follow if you're a quarterback. Like, he's going to hit his landmarks and just makes guys around him look better. Yeah, that's this guy. I mean, he was a pro's pro. It's like watching somebody that's played in the league for several years go out there and do the rookie mini camp. And that, as much as anything, it's kind of a cattle call for the 6 guys they did draft. But all those guys really showed up. Now, the ones, that play on the defensive line and such, outside linebacker, they're not in pads. It's very difficult to really even evaluate those guys, except are they in the right spots. But as far as, guys like Ibuka go, it's exactly what you wanted to see. And I'll go even a step further and tell you one of the most exciting players we'll be talking about all off season, and I think into training camp, is Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson is electric. And if there was a receiving version of Bucky Irving, he would be Tez Johnson. Not going to beat everybody in the 40, but difficult to bring down. Like, they weren't tackling guys to the ground or anything, but he just has this knack of making people miss. I think he's going to help them right away. In punt returns, and you'll have to look. They got plenty of receivers right now. You'll have to create some opportunities for him to do stuff, whether that's jet sweeps or screens, or maybe even just be part of the the 3 or 4 receivers you put out there at times. But he has that same mentality. Reminds you a lot of the same kind of confidence that Bucky had. And in fact, because they were so close at Oregon, um, Tez has watched Bucky and has derived a ton of confidence watching his guy go from Oregon to be a dominant running back with over 1,100 yards in his rookie season. So he knows that, hey, if my guy can do that, and I can make the same sort of transition from college football to the NFL, there's a place for me to make plays. So I just, it's very hard to evaluate. It's a weekend and all that, but I really do think that these guys found some really good players in this bunch. And of course, the defensive guys are going to have more of a bigger impact and a bigger opportunity because they have holes to fill. They got holes to fill on defense. And Ibuka's going to play. There's no question he's going to play. He may even wind up playing ahead of Jalen McMillan. Like, that's going to be a competition to see, who is the third receiver if, in a big if, Chris Godwin is able to start the year. But this is a good draft class. It's another solid draft class of guys that I think are going to really help them. Will it be enough? We don't know. Like, there's injuries, and I don't think they're very deep on defense. But I'll tell you what, they got deeper at corner, assuming you can keep some guys healthy. But they're also added some pieces on offense too. So it's going to be a fun training camp just to see them how they put it together, and injuries will play a big role, but I like what I saw, and again going back to Sanders, like mature guys that want to play, they all seem to get along. It was a good camp. Hey, we'll talk about the Rays and their series win over Milwaukee here in just a second. But first, have you guys gotten down to the Breitling Boutique and International Plaza Mall? You have to go see these folks. Of course, they're our sponsors. We love them, but you're going to love them too. If you are into trying to find the best Swiss watch you can ever buy, that's Breitling Boutique. Now, you want to go to the center of the mall. Upstairs, it is a terrific store, and the customer service is second to none. Look, they're used to dealing with all kinds of professional athletes. You might see a Buccaneer or two in the store while you're there, maybe a Rays player. You never know. They're just across the street in essence. But the Breitling Company has a great collection of men's and women's watches. For the men, the Navitimers, the Chronomats, and they've been doing this thing with the NFL's 104th year anniversary. All 32 team watches in these beautiful Chronomat watches. They've got the team colors. The logo on these watches are absolutely stunning. But it's while supplies last for all 32 teams. If you go to our website, you're likely to see an ad for Breitling, and they got the Buccaneers team watch. It's absolutely gorgeous. Not only that, but women's watches too, sports watches in particular. If your wife or girlfriend is on the go like mine is, these things are beautiful, they're durable, and all different colored wristbands as well. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure when you go, you let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Well, it was good to see the Rays get back on the winning side of things, especially at Steinbrenner. They had been through such a terrible stretch, and here comes the Milwaukee Brewers. They take the first two of the 3-game series against them and probably had a pretty good chance, but left some runners on base. They lose 4-2 on Sunday. But overall, I think they got to be pretty happy with what they did.
Yeah, I think they're disappointed that they couldn't take advantage of a couple opportunities on Sunday. Junior Caminero pinch hitting down, a run. It was either a run or two, but they had two on. Drives it to the wall, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Just not far enough.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, they take 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. I think Yandy Diaz went hitless. Brendan Lau, I think, had 1 hit in the series. And yet they were able to take 2 of 3. Travis Jankowski, his first career walk-off hit, which was huge. The pitching was good. It was, and they even got through rain delay. Taj Bradley was good on Saturday, and even with the rain delay, came back out for the 6th inning afterwards, which I was very surprised about.
Yeah, over 40 minutes, right? Like it was a good, a decent chunk of time between pitches for him that I didn't know how they would go about that.
Yeah, we were kind of surprised. I mean, the Brewers did the same thing, bringing Tyler Alexander, who had came in to pitch, although we're not positive if he had to. So baseball has a 3-batter
rule.
Pitchers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in the rules about if it gets delayed in the middle of that.
Oh boy.
And so Tyler Alexander came back out to pitch. Now I'm not sure if they wanted him to or if he had to. No one was really clear. In the rule book, there is provisions for a suspended game as far as the 3-batter minimum, but not for a rain-delayed game.
Interesting.
And that was only a 30, 40-minute delay. What if it had been an hour and a half or 2-hour delay? Would Tyler Alexander be forced to come back out to pitch? I don't know. And maybe someone does know. We were kind of speculating on it, but I mean, the umpire could always just go, that was an injury. You can swap. I mean, it's at the umpire's discretion, essentially. I don't know if they would do that or not, but it's an interesting something I hadn't thought about with that 3-batter minimum. Like, what happens? You come in, you face 1 batter, and then rain delay happens. And say you're delayed for 2 hours. Generally, they don't get pitchers back up after that much time.
Could you say that I don't know what the designation would be here, but could you argue to an umpire or to whoever's running the baseball game that, hey, our guy can't physically get back out there?
Well, that's where the umpire could say is an injury or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I mean, in the rule it is that because if you're out there pitching and you're on your second batter, you
feel something or
get hit with the ball and whatever. Like,
right.
At that point, it's the
umpire's
discretion. Right. I don't know if they would do that after a rain delay. It's an interesting something I hadn't thought of with the 3-batter minimum.
Right.
But he came back out anyway. But the Rays take 2 of 3. Chandler Simpson had a big day on Sunday. He had been struggling a little bit of late.
Yeah, and you kind of knew that was going to happen. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Is just that there's the surprising thing with him when he came up. I think surprised Cash. I was out there a few times when he was up there the day he came in, but Cash said, what was interesting is the bat to ball ability. Like he wasn't swinging and missing much. He was making a lot of contact, hoping to keep the ball on the ground and use his speed. And he did, steal a good number of bases. And early on, he was effective that way. And he kind of hit a little bit of a slump. But I mean, they're going to adjust to him the same way he's got to adjust to them, I guess.
Here's the big thing, and this is if you don't think there's a difference between AAA and Major Leagues. Chandler Simpson hit into 2 double plays this weekend.
I know. It's crazy, right?
And his first base time was 3.94 seconds on Sunday.
Well, to be fair, he hit a couple of those balls fairly hard.
Oh, no, he did. But in the minors, those don't get turned for double. I mean, because he almost beat it out.
Right, that's true.
Like, I mean, the guys at the majors are so good. Like,
they're so quick, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, it wasn't like he hit dribblers and got double played.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hard shots, but
yeah.
But you don't expect Chandler Simpson to hit into 2 double plays in a weekend.
No.
Like, it just shows you how good it is up here.
You know who's surprising? And I watched him, and he doesn't look to be that fast, but the guy can really turn it, is Brendan Lau. Like, Lau really does a nice job transferring the ball from second to first.
Oh, no, he's really good at that.
And his arm is stronger, than
he's got one of the quickest releases from a second baseman.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whether it's going to second or to first, whichever.
But he's so smooth with it, like just to watch him, it's not like I never felt like, oh, he really turns it quick. But then you go back and you go, yeah, that ball's not in there very long. And it's an art. Believe me, it's an art.
Mm-hmm.
No,
he is very good at that.
Yeah.
But look, you'd like to have taken all 3 from the Brewers, especially when you take the first 2. But considering how you played at home before that, it's a start. Now you're on the road, so hopefully you can continue winning. Toronto and Miami.
Right.
I mean, the other part is, too, this starts a stretch now. You have, the Brewers, then you're getting the Blue Jays and Miami, and then you're starting a stretch now. Like, part of the problem they were having winning at home, but the schedule itself, is they were playing tough competition. The Phillies are a really good team. The Yankees are a really good team. The Padres, the Diamondbacks. Now, granted, you were beating them. But, I mean, these are the teams you're playing. Now you're getting Milwaukee. They're right around 500. Toronto. They're right basically with the Rays in the standings. Miami. Houston. Toronto. Minnesota's now red hot, but they're about 500 overall. Then Houston. I mean, the teams you got coming up the next couple weeks, this is where you've got to, because you weren't winning early against some of those really good teams. These are the teams now you've got to take 2 out of 3 from.
Yes.
You've got to start winning now. And so you started with Milwaukee, you took 2 out of 3. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go to Toronto, take 2 out of 3. You just got to keep chipping away at that right now. Because now you're playing teams that it's not like the Yankees where, and granted, they took 2 of 3 from the Yankees in New York, but you don't expect to do that every time.
Right.
When you're facing the Yankees, you're going, okay, we need to win 1, and then let's hope we get the second. Figure they're probably going to take 1. And it's the old meatloaf, as Joe Madden would talk about.
Yeah.
So just take 2 out of 3. But these next few series, starting this 2 on the road, then you're home for another 3-team series. Take 2 out of 3. And these are the teams you can do that against.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, then this team will be right back in it.
The walk-off with this Travis Jankowski, I think he's been there for, 2 or 3 weeks, no, maybe not even that much. Like, I'm looking up, like, who is this guy? And he's played a good while. Like, this is not a young player by any stretch.
No, he's got a World Series ring. The only player on the team that does.
That's right. And, and then I thought, well, how many outfielders have they been through already? I mean, they've replaced the entire outfield once. Now, you have Jankowski come in here.
You got Palacios, Mangum, Lowe, and DeLuca all on the IL
Your
right now.
top 4 outfielders are not playing. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Top 4.
So now you've got Simpson and Jankowski, and you got Morel playing outfield, and You got Caballero went out in the outfield today after some switching around, and
Right. He's played some outfield.
now Josh Lowe's close to coming back. He's at rehab right now. He's down at Durham.
Right.
Maybe he's back Tuesday. Maybe it's later this week, but he'll be back soon.
Could be huge.
And that should help the team, although it's not really helping against left-handed pitching, but
right.
They still struggle with that.
They're still dreadful with left-handers, but
yes.
That ballpark is sort of, that was the thought process anyway, that him and Brendan Lau would kind of have a field day with the short right field porch and all of that. Yeah, so who got hitterish, and you got to give him credit, man. Taylor Walls.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Walls started hitting the baseball a little bit.
He's putting together good at-bats, getting a few walks here and there, drew the bases loaded walk.
Loaded walk, yeah. And just watching him, again, naked eye, don't know anything, his swing is shorter. He's quicker to the ball now. I don't know what adjustment he made, but he's barreling a few things a little bit more now. Doesn't look as long.
Mm-hmm.
And he's hit the ball to all fields. And so, again, his defense is obviously why he's always going to be in the majors. Primarily, he's going to save you a ton of runs. But if you get just a little bit of offense and can flip that lineup over a few more times, that's going to be big. So maybe, again, I'm not predicting he's going to even hit, 215, but in clutch situations, when you need contact, when you need a sac fly, like he's come through in some of those moments to help them get runs, which is cool.
Yep. Danny Jansen's starting to hit a little bit.
A little bit. Now, I think there's a lot more with him, unless he's gotten to the point where they can just beat him with a fastball. I see them beating him a lot with hard stuff.
Yep.
So,
but he got off to a really bad start offensively.
Oh, he did. Yeah, just really bad.
He's been playing much better of late. So if they get Josh Lowe back, Ha-Sung Kim, we're probably talking June now until he's back.
Are they going to think it's going to be after May now? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like at least in a full-time role.
Yeah.
I think they're taking their time with that one.
Mm-hmm.
But if they can start getting some guys back, if Brendan Lau, Yandy Diaz can start hitting, it's
consistently, yeah,
it kind of sounds like last year.
It's the
they
same.
Got off to a horrendous start because Yandy Diaz and Randy Arozarena weren't hitting.
That's right.
And it's got that feel. It's the vets that aren't hitting right now. It's Yandy Diaz, it's Brendan Lau, and they both had bad series.
Yeah.
If they can figure out how to start hitting again consistently.
And they were hoping, let's be honest, Jensen would make a big difference for them, offensively. He's a good catcher.
Yeah.
But they thought he'd have a little more consistency and pop,
I think so. I think they expect a lot more out of their outfield.
Yeah, they're just not playing. They're just not on the field.
Those guys are all hurt. So
yeah, I think again, Simpson's going to give them a lot and has already.
Yep.
But they're going to eventually get these guys back. I don't know about Palacios, but I think all the others are supposed to come back at some point.
And not unsurprisingly, but Camanero's struggling too.
Yeah, and defensively at times as well.
Defensively for sure, and that's but even offensively, his swings get a little long at times.
Yep.
He's still and look, he's a young player, and I'm saying this not as he's not good or whatever else. It's the league has adjusted to him. Now, what adjustments is he going to make back? What adjustments is he going to change?
Yeah,
and that's what baseball really is. It's a battle of adjustments.
Young player too, though. Lots of chances for him to do that.
Oh, absolutely, and but he's supposed to be the heart of this lineup at this point.
Yeah.
You'd like to, now. Granted, he almost had the home run today, the pinch hit, but
he did. The guy that's not shown me as advertised, and that I just don't think he's very good. My personal opinion, if he's hearing this, sorry, is Morel. I see way too much swing and miss with him.
Yep,
and hasn't given him the consistent power that they thought he was going to get some home runs. He got streaky, I think, on the road when they won 5 out of 6. He had a couple home runs. But in general, he comes up in big moments, and it just never seems to really come through.
I wasn't surprised last year when he kind of struggled. Because, he was struggling in Chicago, which is kind of why they trade him. Yeah. I thought in offseason with the Rays, and usually they're pretty good at finding a tweak or two.
That's right.
It's how they got Yandy Diaz. They traded him from, Cleveland?
Yeah.
and everyone's like, what are you trading for this guy? And then they tweaked him and changed little things with his swing in this. And all of a sudden he's, one of the best hitters in baseball the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And you were hoping that the Rays saw something there that they could tweak, change. Now, the player has to accept it and do it as well.
Right.
Not just on the team itself, but yeah, he's been a disappointment this season. You were hoping to see that next step from where he was when he got to the Rays. And like I said, midseason, it's kind of hard to do that. You thought with an offseason he would come back better, and he hasn't.
Right.
Jonathan Aranda's been fantastic.
He's been the dog, man. He's been the guy. He's been the guy.
Yep. Yeah, he just keeps getting hits.
I think most people believed even before this year that he was a hitter. I mean, he's always been a good hitter where he's been. Trying to stay healthy, trying to stay in the majors, bringing him up and down for various reasons, including injuries. Just never really had that consistency or that opportunity to be consistent. And now, when he plays most every day, at least against right-handers, he's getting it done. And even to the point where I think they played him against the lefty the other day, and he kind of went with some pitches and served it out to left field. So, yeah, love what he's been doing.
And that's the cautionary tale for young players when fans or people want to write somebody off because they're supposed to be this great hitter. They come up and they don't succeed right away.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes you got to give him a little time. And he's been plagued by some injuries too, where he would have had more opportunities sooner. Josh Lowe was one who came up and struggled and then hit big. And now the next season he struggled, but he was hurt a lot that year. And now he's hurt this year too. I mean, that's the thing with Josh. You got to keep him healthy. But sometimes young players, it takes time when they get up here. The difference between the majors and AAA is as big as it's ever been.
Really? Why?
The talent. You talk to players. You talk like the pitching. The pitchers at the major league level are just so much better than what you see at AAA.
Okay.
The pitches break a ton more.
Yeah, there's a lot. I know that baseball has gone from, and it still has plenty of velocity, but now it's so much, everything's spinning now, everything.
Yep. But, I mean, you even see young pitchers dominate AAA and come up and are lost in the majors. And consider, the difference of the stuff from whether it's the pitchers or the hitters is just, it's so drastic now between the majors and AAA. I think, I think they've just gotten so good.
Mm-hmm.
And the elite stuff is just so much better than what you see in double AAA. It just is. And it's hard. It's hard to judge players now in AAA. You can see them dominate offensively or pitching. You just don't know if it's going to translate because the gap is wider than it's ever been.
It's pretty filthy, actually. I mean, what those guys throw is insane. There's so many guys. Used to be, hey, this guy made it all the way to 94, 95 miles an hour. It's like now every guy's throwing mid-90s and then some touching 100 very often. So crazy. But you're right. I think you're seeing a lot more breaking balls that move, a lot more movement on pitches and than we've ever seen. And in addition to, that much velocity. So it is hard. It's incredibly hard to hit on a consistent basis.
Yep. I want to give a shout out too. I ran into our good friend Tommy Leverone, Connor, and Andrew with the Rays game on Saturday. So they listen every day and
love it.
So they had their ponchos in hand already. It was right before the game, but they already had their ponchos because it was starting to rain a little bit, and the game was going to start late on Saturday. So.
Historic commemorative ponchos handed out by the Rays, which is really cool. I want to give a shout out to my neighbor, guy down the street. When I moved up here in Lutz, from Palm Harbor, and had a house built in Villa Rosa. I'm giving away way too much personal information. Anyway, there's this guy and his dad and come around this corner, on the main thoroughfare in my development subdivision, if you will. And there was this guy and his dad, and there was a little kid. He was always playing catch. He couldn't have been more than 5, 6 years old. And I saw him out there, and I watched this. You know how it is? It's like a movie, right? You drive by every day, on the weekend, every day. Now he's in a Little League uniform. You're doing this with your kids now. And now he's playing T-ball. Now he's playing Little League. Now he's playing Junior League. Now it looks like he's got a bat bag. He might be playing high school. Well, he played all right, and he played his way all the way to Ole Miss, where he won a College World Series.
Mm-hmm.
And over the weekend, on Saturday, he made his major league debut. Now, he had been in Charlotte at the White Sox AAA ball club, where he was wearing it out. He was batting 348, and he had 10 home runs in 31 games, but he'd had 8 home runs in his previous 10 games. He was on a tear.
Wow.
Yeah, he was on a tear. Now, the White Sox aren't very good,
I was
to
going
say
to
the
say,
very least.
are we really sure it's his major league debut? I mean, they're not the Rockies, but
I know, but they held him back. And the sad thing is that he's not a young guy. He played a lot of baseball in college with COVID, and he tore his ACL and went back to Ole Miss after winning a World Series, and actually played on a torn ACL for a little while, and then has surgery, went back. So he's like 24, 25 years old. And he made his major league debut, and he went 0 for 3 on Saturday. We watched, but then on Sunday, he hit his first major league hit was, as you would expect from only Tim Elco, a 3-run bomb, home run in the 6th inning, put the White Sox ahead to stay. They went on to win 4-2, and his family was there. Obviously, they were there the night before. His what a Mother's Day present! You want to give your mom something? How about your major league first hit being a 3-run homer, no less, at Comiskey, or not Comiskey? Is it Little Comiskey now? What do they call it now? They call it something else.
Whatever, guaranteed rate field
or something like that. But yeah, on the south side of Chicago, in the baddest part of town,
the Pope's house, or is that what they're calling it now? Or
yeah, something. But yeah, my boy, my little guy that I saw in the yard, like it is like I can see it, and I've talked to his dad about it, and we've seen him in the neighborhood all the time. And I'm just so excited for one of our own. But yeah, Tim Elco from good old Lutz, Florida, went wicked far, way out there for the White Sox, man. And he's gonna excite that city a little bit because he's got legit power. Like this dude, aluminum bats notwithstanding, like he can mash. And so it was cool. I just had this attachment. We're fortunately it was the Barlands, so we got to watch him on TV a little bit in his major league debut. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, it's a great story. I mean, baseball is the best for that. It's just the best. And you think about how every boy's dream, it was certainly my dream, but every boy that plays the game and loves the game, they think about that, right? Like think about now batting, the designated hitter or whatever, Tim Elco, and you're in a major league ballpark and there's runners on base, and you got to come through, and your first major league hit's a bomb to left field, and the place is going bananas, and the announcers are going, "Welcome to Chicago, Tim Elco," And I think their next series is against no less than the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, wow.
So you get the inner series vibe, right? Young star just brought up, and I think they have to play on the north side. But yeah, just a cool story, man. I love baseball for all those moments. And who knows what his major league career will hold. I think he's going to be all right. He's in addition to everything else, and I'm not saying this because he's my neighbor, but what a nice young man and what a great family. Like they have done a great job with him and his sister. They're really good people, and I'm very happy for him. So yeah, kind of a neat thing. Check out Tim Elco. Not much to root for with the White Sox, who I think had one of the worst teams in the major, one of the worst records. The worst record belongs to the Colorado Rockies, who finally fired, and it is not his fault, ladies and gentlemen. Bud Black got a copy of the home game the other day.
Did you hear
They've won 7 games all year so far, I think.
Yeah, they're on pace much worse than the White Sox last year.
Yes.
But Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, was asked about them firing Bud Black. He goes, not even Casey Stengel could win with that team. Come on.
No. I mean, really. And the thing is, like my son who now lives in Denver, he's not a Rockies fan, he's a Rays fan, but he follows the Rockies because, well, he's in Denver. And you'll go to the games. First of all, it's one of the most picturesque, gorgeous ballparks in the major leagues, like bar none. Denver is a sports town. The Nuggets, of course, are winning, and they're crazy about the Broncos and what Sean Payton's going to do. But it's the most picturesque, one of the most picturesque ballparks, in America. And so they draw. It's one of those places, almost like where the Cubs were for years and years, where they draw a ton of fans, And it doesn't matter if you win because it's the thing to do.
Did you
sit
see their
there,
Saturday game? Did you see the score of their Saturday game? They lost 21-0
No, they didn't.
to the Padres.
3 touchdowns?
The stands were full at the end of the game, practically.
But that's the way it always is. Now you get a lot. You will get a lot of fans from other teams there. I'm not going to pretend
it was
you
Rocky,
don't.
There was Rocky fans in there. Like it was like
but you get everybody.
You should have left long ago. Like 21-0.
No, but it's just I'm telling you, you go, you sit there. The air is crisp and cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a beautiful park. No question about it.
You literally are staring at the Rockies into center field, left field. But it's just, I don't know. And I think, and I'm not
lost by 3 tutties. 3 tutties.
Yeah, 3 tutties. And I'm not sure, couldn't tell you who the owner is, but I'll say this. They don't have to spend money because they're doing just fine on the one hand, not so much on the field. But yeah, Bud Black has no chance, especially in that division. My God. Like, you've got the Padres, you've got the Dodgers. I mean, who are you playing every week, Really difficult, but yeah, so not so good for them. But hey, good for the White Sox. Maybe they'll have an arrow up. So this week, no mini camp, although we'll have plenty of talk left about the Bucs. And as you mentioned, the Rays are headed on the road again, right?
Up north, across the border to Toronto.
I hope those
Blue Jays were kind of neck and neck in the standings with them. So
yeah, they're not off to a great start. I hope the passports, no problem at the border these days with Canada and the United States. Who knows, man? I don't know. I haven't checked to see if my friend Mark Tompkins is going to make that run up there or not this time. Still recovering from that knee injury of his, but should be an interesting series. And they got just put together a series, try to get back up over 500 and see where it takes you. But it's very similar to last year's start. And like you said, you need to get Yandy, you need to get your best players going and have them carry them a little bit. And then if you get a couple players back, that wouldn't hurt either. Josh Lowe could make a big difference on this ball club. So we'll be back tomorrow. Hope you guys did have a great Mother's Day for all your moms out there. I know we did. And go to Breitling Boutique. If you didn't get her anything, hey man, head on down to Breitling Boutique and check out the beautiful watches they have, sports watches, all different colored wristbands for her. Or Father's Day isn't that far away. You can also check out the Navitimer's Chronomats NFL watches, limited supply as they last. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Make sure you told them you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.